Throughout hockey history, there have been moments that defined entire generations of players and that inspired an entirely new generation of fans. The Summit Series in 1972, the Miracle on Ice in 1980, the Canada Cup in 1987, and Olympic gold medal games in 2002 and 2010. All of these moments transcended the realm of sport and became cultural landmarks that inspired generations and signified new beginnings. And for the first time in a long time, we just witnessed another one of those moments. A tournament that was initially dismissed as a gimmick by many, the Four Nations Faceoff evolved into one of the most intense and competitive tournaments in recent memory. This evolution was driven by two key factors. The tournament marked the first best-on-best competition in more than 10 years. But almost more importantly, it unfolded amidst heightened political tensions between Canada and the USA, infusing each game with national significance that the game hasn't seen since the turn of the century.
Canada's been very bad to us on trade, but now Canada's going to have to start paying up. So I think Canada is going to be a very serious contender to be our 51st state.
For the second consecutive game, there was loud booing during the Star-Spangled Banner amid the tariff threats by U.S. President Donald Trump and his repeated calls to make Canada the 51st state.
The stage was set perfectly, with Canada and the US meeting up for the championship game at the TD Garden in Boston, with Team Canada comprising of Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby, Nathan MacKinnon, and Cale Makar, and the US countering with Austin Matthews, Connor Hellebuyck, Jack Eichel, and the Tkachuk brothers. There was no shortage of star power on either side. But there was one significant mismatch between the two teams going into this game, that being the goaltending. Canada's goaltending was heavily criticized as Jordan Binnington had been less than stellar throughout the tournament, especially in comparison to the best goalie in the world on the other end. But this was the equivalent of Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, just one game, where anything can happen, and even the most unlikeliest of heroes could emerge. With the puck dropped on the biggest international game since 2014, the skill and speed of both teams was on full display right off the bat, with the US testing Binnington early, with shots created by their elite forecheck and their ability to find trailing forwards on the rush. But it would be Team Canada that would get on the board first, all thanks to their strategy of going low to high to create point shots with traffic. This is arguably the only weakness in Hellebuyck's game, as Nathan MacKinnon and his Avalanche teammates barraged him with point shots in their series against the Jets last season. And that's exactly what Canada does on this play. After recovering a successful dump-in, Reinhart goes low to high to Thomas Harley on the point. And he passes back down to an open MacKinnon at the hash marks, after Werenski and Brady Tkachuk get crossed up. This should have been Werenski's check given the man-on-man style of defense that the US plays, but he signals to Brady Tkachuk to cover MacKinnon instead. And with Harley activating from the point to create even more chaos, the defensive coverage of the US is in complete disarray at this point. With 5 bodies directly between him and Hellebuyck, MacKinnon is able to sift a wrister through traffic and into the back of the net without Hellebuyck ever even having a chance to react. That split-second decision by Werenski and the ensuing miscommunication is all Team Canada needed to take the early lead. But the US goes right back to its strategy of grinding Canada down by dumping the puck in and using their physicality to win possession. But, time and time again, Binnington was able to use his ability to play the puck to nullify the dump-ins and create easy exit opportunities for his D. Each of these dump-ins were low to the ice, which allowed Binnington to feel confident in coming out to play the puck. But that changed later in the period, when Noah Hanifin dumps this puck much higher along the glass, forcing Binnington to stay in his net and allowing the US forecheck to get to work. And that's exactly what they do, as Matthews perfectly reads the reversal by Taves and beats Makar to the puck, and then uses his physicality to get the puck to the front of the net right into Brady Tkachuk's wheelhouse, who outmuscles 2 guys to put the puck behind Jordan Binnington. This had been the MO for this US team the entire tournament, and they used it to their advantage once again to tie up the game going into the intermission, with the teams as evenly poised as you could ask for. Going into the second, the US had done a great job of keeping Connor McDavid quiet by neutralizing his speed through the neutral zone. Both Jack Eichel and Austin Matthews did this fantastically all game long. And this solid defense would ultimately result in more offense for the States. After Brock Faber wins a one-on-one board battle against Sam Reinhart, the puck pops loose to a streaking Matt Boldy. Boldy dumps the puck in to facilitate the change, and once again, the dump in is perfectly placed out of the reach of Binnington, allowing the freight train that is Brady Tkachuk to barrel into Canada's Colton Parayko. The puck eventually pops loose along the boards, and the U.S. is able to get it back to the point to Zach Werenski, who has 6 guys between him and the goalie. And just like Canada's first goal, Werenski is able to get the puck through the crowd and on target. Binnington is able to make the positional save on the initial shot, but Austin Matthews is able to catch Sidney Crosby napping on the rebound and is able to beat him to the puck to get a second chance. And while Binnington makes another save on the second shot, the puck pops loose to a wide-open Jake Sanderson, who bats the puck into the open cage to put the U.S. up 2-1. This was all starting to look like deja vu from the round-robin game, where Canada jumped to the early 1-goal lead, but the U.S. would come back to score 3 unanswered to win the game 3-1. But instead, just minutes later, Canada is able to force a turnover in the neutral zone, allowing Marner to break into the zone with speed and make a perfect pass to Bennett, who makes no mistake and beats Hellebuck upstairs to tie up the game. The deception here by Marner to create the passing lane to Bennett was unbelievable. Everything about his body language suggests that he's either looking to make a play to Hagel on his right or to shoot the puck on net himself. But at the very last minute, he pivots his hips to find the open Sam Bennett, completely fooling a Norris Trophy winning Adam Fox. And Sam Bennett pulls off almost the identical move that Connor McDavid made in the round-robin game, where he fakes going across, catches Hellebuck leaning, and then snipes it near side instead. And that's exactly what Sam Bennett does as well. Fakes going across the net and catches Hellebuck leaning to create room on the short side, making it 2 apiece for both sides going into the third. With the championship game coming down to the wire in the third period, both teams would trade chances, but both goalies would steal the show. This back and forth would continue all the way to the final minute of the third, where Mitch Marner is able to find the loose rebound and skate past the sprawling Jake Sanderson to find himself in a one-on-one situation against Hellebuck. But once again, Marner tries to use his deception to find Connor McDavid backdoor instead. And his plan almost works, if it weren't for JT Miller's heroics to save the game for the U.S. Look how far out JT is when Marner first gets the loose rebound. His awareness to recognize the threat of McDavid backdoor is just incredible. And with that, the most meaningful game of best-on-best international men's competition since 2014 was going into sudden death overtime. And just a few minutes into OT, after some more good board work by the U.S., they'd look to end the game early.
Larkin gets in front. Matthews denied. What a stop, Jordan Binnington. Pass to Reinhart. Fails to click. Dropped in. Chance. Matthews. Another pass on the rebound. Oh, Binnington. Did you see that? Game saver off Brady Tkachuk.
Oh, man.
And nobody can question Jordan Binnington now. Game savers in overtime in 4.5 minutes. Another chance, and maybe a fourth. He's got Matthews' number right now with another great glove stop.
Given the circumstances, that has to be one of the greatest goalie sequences I've ever seen. To fend off 4 nearly perfect shots in championship OT, 3 of which were by arguably the greatest pure goal scorer since Alex Ovechkin, that's storybook stuff. And just how it always seems to be, a few minutes later, this would happen.
Marner waiting. Connor McDavid scores! Connor McDavid for Canada!
You just couldn't write a better script if you're a Canadian. With all of the political discourse outside the game, all of the chirping between both teams leading up to the game, all of the questions around Canada's goaltending, and the entire hockey world waiting for the next generation of superstars to take the mantle from the old guard in international play, it just had to be Connor McDavid to end it all. And it all happens because of one misplay by one of the better defensive forwards in the league. The same guy who was absolutely robbed 3 times just a few minutes prior. As Cale Makar rims this puck around the net, Adam Fox skates behind the net to close the gap on Marner in the corner, assuming that his center would continue to protect the slot. But instead, Matthews also tries to close the gap on his Leaf teammate, leaving the best player in the world wide open in the middle of the slot, who makes no mistake and puts it right into the top corner past Hellebuck. I remember what the 2010 Olympics did for my fandom of the sport when I was still in high school, and I understand full well that this wasn't the Olympics by any stretch. But the fanfare leading up to the game, the countless non-hockey fans tuning in, this game had the potential to be one of the most influential international games in recent times, and it lived up to it, and then some. This was honestly the most fun I've had watching hockey since the 2010 Olympics. And I promise I would have said the same thing even if Canada had lost the final. The quality of hockey on the ice and the external factors being what they were, it really was the perfect storm to create one of the most memorable tournaments in hockey history.
I just hope Canada's proud, because every player in that room is proud to be a Canadian. And yeah, did we need a win? Not only like our team, but Canada needed a win. And the players bared that on their shoulders, and they took it seriously. And this one was different. This wasn't a win for themselves. This was a win for 40+ million people.